In my last video, I mentioned that a huge part of the solution to a very big problem that we all face as human beings is to simply take action. And that really made me start thinking about taking action and what that really means and just how important that really is. And at the end of that video, I made a comment about how scripture tells us that God provides all the resources, including food, for all of his creation, including things like the birds. And for us not to worry, he provides all of those things. However, he does not drop worms in birds' nests. So, yes, he provides us the resources, but he's not necessarily going to do everything for us. We have to go out there and do things. We have to take action. And something that made me think about this quite a lot, this was a couple of months ago, is I saw in somebody's Bible that basically on the front inside cover of their Bible, they had a whole bunch of scripture that they apparently just really meant a lot to them, or stuff that really stuck with them or helped them or whatever. Quite a few different Bible verses. And I noticed a theme with all of these verses, and all of these verses, I think it was 100%. If not, it was very close to 100% of the verses spoke about what God has done for us or promises to do for us. And there was not a single verse in there about what we're supposed to do. Now, scripture has both. God has a lot of promises in scripture. God's already done a lot for us. However, a lot of scripture lets us know what we need to do, the action we need to take. As Christians, we are to take up our cross and follow Jesus. We need to take action. So another thing that sort of caught my attention when it comes to this as well, this was a lot more recently, and I feel like this might be, I don't know, maybe the algorithm's just speaking to me and suggesting these videos, and I will be completely transparent. I have not clicked on a single one of the videos, but I'm just going to speculate as to what they're about. But I can tell that it's faith-based content, and a lot of it has titles along the lines of "just exist," and I'm assuming this content is about, trusting God and not worrying, which is all really good. But I feel like it is doing a human a complete disservice to make them think or lead them to believe that they should just exist and that's good enough as a Christian. I just said that scripture tells us, Jesus says to take up your cross and follow me. So we are to be more like Jesus. We are to follow him and try to model our lives after him. And when Jesus lived, it's all over scripture. He didn't just exist. He wasn't just there waiting on folks to come to him so that he could heal them or he could save them or preach the gospel to them. He went out and did things. He went out and he had his own ministry. He found people to help him. He, got the apostles together, gave them marching orders. So he delegated work. Everything Jesus did was doing. It was not just existing. It was doing. And that's what we're to do as Christians, is to model our lives after Jesus, to be more like Jesus. And that requires taking action. So it's just very dangerous to me to think that, or just to get stuck in the mentality that, oh, well, God will just take care of everything. Well, God, yes, will be there with you through everything, but he's not going to do everything for you. I've also mentioned in the past that God is not going to pull you out of a situation necessarily, but he will guide you through it. God is with you. He is not with you to completely take over and possess you and, just be God. When he created us in his image, but he also blessed us with free will so that we're able to make decisions, period, and live a life with God. We're not all just God. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully you get my point here. Now, another thing we can do to take action is we can pray. So we can move the hand of God. God does answer prayers. Some people think that everything is just predetermined and all of that, and I find that just not to be true at all. Now, God's will is God's will, and it will always be God's will. Nothing will change God's will. But we can move the hand of God by praying, and Scripture tells us that we have not because we ask not. So it tells us that we need to ask for things. Why would it tell us we need to ask for things if we could not move the hand of God? Now, that needs to be in alignment with God's will, or we will not get those things. Because the next verse in Scripture right after that is, the reason you don't have things that you're praying for is because they are not in alignment with God's will. I'm totally paraphrasing that, but it's along those lines. So, and Scripture also tells us that we are to pray without ceasing. So if prayer did nothing, the Scripture would not be so clear on the fact that we need to pray, and also be very clear on that we have not because we ask not, and that we should let God know the desires of our heart. And we can move the hand of God so long as what it is that we are praying for and the desires of our heart are in alignment with God's will. Now, God's will is also God's timeline. It's not necessarily going to happen how you want it to happen or when you want it to happen, but God will absolutely answer your prayers if they are in alignment with his will. However, we must take action. We cannot lean on a shovel and pray for a hole. If you do that, let me know how that works out for you. If you're trying to get financially wealthy in life and you're just waiting on Ed McMahon to come knocking on your door with a camera crew with a gigantic cardboard check from the Publishers Clearinghouse, if that's what you think's going to happen, rather than you going out and doing something to become financially wealthy, let me know how that works out for you. We just simply have to take action. We can't only focus on the Scripture that tells us about all of God's promises. While that is all incredibly important, it's all true, and it wouldn't be Holy Scripture if it was not. But we need to take it all in context. We need to take all of Scripture for what it is. And also, we need to do the work that we are commanded to do, that we are created to do. Take up our cross and follow Jesus. That's all I got for you today. Good talk.